And for me, anything that I do, I start with the salaries first. I start with people first before myself.
But what is more disappointing here is that it's not like it's the club that is at fault. It is the business ties of Mamkhize, which have nothing to do with football.
And what I can tell you, I'll never allow life to dictate to me, because I dictate to life. And I'll never entertain the noise of the world.
To fully understand the current predicament of soccer club Royal AM, we need to go back in history to around 2019, when a young Andile Mpisane, well, technically he's still young, so let's just say a younger Andile Mpisane, was probably out doing his normal shopping at a Gucci store, dancing after every single purchase. I suppose had an epiphany, had an idea, and if you are to believe the reports, took this idea to his mom and was like, "Mom, you see how we are buying these Gucci items and these fancy cars? Can you buy me a soccer team so I can play as the number 10 in that team?" Now, as a parent, I would imagine that Mamkhize was excited by this particular news, that her son has finally shown an interest in something and wants to be something growing up. So, as any responsible parent would do in this particular situation, she probably was like, "You know what? I'll take this money that is supposed to pay SARS and buy you a soccer team, my child." So getting back to Royal AM. Royal AM is a South African football club that is based in Pietermaritzburg and plays in the Premiership, the South African PSL. Now, since the beginning of this year, games for Royal AM have been suspended. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, we're going to go down memory lane. We're going to go down history. So taking a look at the club's history, well, originally the club was called Kings United before changing its name to Real Kings. And in 2019, Shauwn Mkhize and her son Andile Mpisane purchased Real Kings and renamed it Royal AM. Now, around this time, Royal AM was in the National First Division, and in the 2018-2019 season, they finished 12th. In the following season, the 2019-2020 season, Royal AM finished 4th, and the following season after that, the 2020-2021, Royal AM finished 2nd. So, since the takeover or the purchase from the Mpisanes, it does seem that Royal AM's trajectory was definitely upwards. Now, looking at the National First Division table for that particular season, as you can see over there, we've got Sekhukhune United, which were promoted to the 2021-2022 Premiership, and Royal AM, who were 2nd, and Richards Bay, who were 3rd. Well, they were supposed to play promotion playoffs to get into the PSL. However, just looking at the table itself, it doesn't tell the full story. The full story is that an arbitration hearing handed Sekhukhune United 3 points for a disputed match they had played that season against Polokwane City. Now, according to the reports, Polokwane City failed to comply with the rules that required 5 under-23 players on the team sheet. And as I mentioned, therefore, Sekhukhune United were handed 3 points, putting them at the top of the National First Division and the automatic promotion to the PSL that was initially held by Royal AM. So at this point, and knowing that particular story, you could somewhat feel and understand that Royal AM felt that they were a little bit hard done. So as I've mentioned, being bumped down to 2nd meant that they had to play in the playoffs so that they can get their promotion. However, in a decision that raised eyebrows at the time, Royal AM decided not to honor the PSL promotion playoffs and didn't pitch up for any of their games. So their playoff opponents, which were Chippa United and Richards Bay, were handed 3-0 walkovers against Royal AM. Eventually, Chippa United would go on to win the playoff and retain their PSL status that season. And the Durban-based club, Royal AM, were found guilty of all charges and were handed a 4 million rand fine with 2.8 million suspended. Now at this point, it seems that Royal AM were feeling very hard done and they decided, you know what, we are not going to grind again in the National First Division. Instead, we are going to buy the PSL status of Bloemfontein Celtic.
Boss Max Shabalala, a property developer, has been in charge of Celtic since July 2014. He bought the club from former player and long-time owner Dimitri Jimmy Agosti. Shabalala says the news that the club has been sold should be dismissed as fake news.
Now this decision raised even more eyebrows as Royal AM were given the green light to buy their way into the DStv Premiership.
I was just praying that someone could come and then say, okay, I'm buying Celtics, but then Celtics will remain in Bloemfontein.
It's bad for me, and I feel it's going to generate a lot of anger from the residents and the fans and everyone.
As they bought Bloemfontein Celtic status and relocated the club to Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. The owner of Bloemfontein Celtics, Max Shabalala, came under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of criticism as it seemed like the players and some of the staff only learned about the immediate sale of the club through the media. Sports commentator Robert Marawa actually posted an audio in which Max was addressing the players and the staff the following Monday after news broke of the sale. Robert posted the following: "You've asked for the Max Shabalala audio when he addressed his players and staff on Monday about the immediate sale of his club at Bloemfontein Celtics. Listen carefully to how professional players are treated."
Hey, good morning, gents. Gentlemen, I'm not going to be long. I have to be straightforward and that's frank. You've seen what the media is saying, and everybody that's true. The team is sold. You know that we had problems, and I was foreseeing other problems this season also. So the team is sold, guys. I can't do it otherwise. It's 4 years that I've run the team out of my pocket, and you know the challenges. You also have not made it easier for me. So as per Premier League status and stuff like that, we've sold the team over to Royal AM. It's in Durban, Mamkhize. The PSL have approved the deal Friday night around about 8 o'clock at night. That's why we couldn't do anything. I would have called you earlier, but that time you were on weekend off. We only received the papers at past 8, the approval of the PSL. We couldn't announce anything until the PSL approves. So guys, each and every one of you, each and every player who's salaried, who's got contract with the team, the contract has gone over to Royal AM as per the PSL rule. Because when you sell a team, the contract of the players must be protected. It's up to you on arrival at Royal AM if you want to tell them that you want out. But everything is with Royal AM, the salaries and everything. People will be paid as per all the salary contract signed. Everything is there with them. So I will request you today, as per agreement, because there's a game on Sunday. That's why I have the meeting, the chairman knows for the meeting here of Royal AM, that the players must leave today. We'll give a contract. I don't know, they said they'll send somebody. Mr. Makomogan. Hi, Makomogan. Is he not here? All right. They said they'll send somebody that will take you to the townhouses that side and the place, and then the chairman, the chair lady that side will meet with you. All the contracts that you've signed, it's over with them. It's as per the way you signed them.
Now, as I've mentioned, Max Shabalala did get his fair share of criticism. However, it had been widely reported that Bloemfontein Celtics at the time were financially struggling with sponsors.
Shabalala's stay at the helm of the club has not been without controversies. Players and technical staff have often downed tools over unpaid salaries, while creditors threaten to liquidate the club. It's not the first time that Shabalala has attempted to sell the Punya Selesele club.
And it seems like, according to Max, at the time, this was the only way out or way forward. Now, as doom and gloomy as it might have been at Bloemfontein Celtics, well, in Durban for Royal AM owners Mamkhize and Andile Mpisane, well, they were dancing their way all the way up into the PSL. And Andile Mpisane became the youngest chairman of a PSL team. His dreams were all but within his reach, so he did the most sensible thing as a chairman of a club. He decided to scout and buy himself as a player for Royal AM and gave himself the jersey number 10. Now that is some proper scouting from the chairman right there. And what a trailblazing first season they had in the top flight PSL, finishing third in the 2021-2022 season. And as you can imagine, Royal AM stole the hearts of many, including a popular Orlando Pirates fan in Mama Joy. Now, in the following season, the 2022-2023 season, it seemed like the joy was starting to fade away. They finished 13th. The Samir Nurkovic issue as well as transfer ban.
First of all, thank you for having me here.
Royal AM received a transfer ban from FIFA that was effective from the 3rd of July 2023 after unlawfully terminating the contract of Samir Nurkovic and failing to pay the outstanding amount of around 12 million rands to him. Now, to get the full context of this particular story, well, according to Kickoff, they actually got some words and some comments from Royal AM head coach at the time, Zondo. Now, according to what was written on Kickoff, Zondo, the coach, believed that all of that could have been avoided if proper procedure had been followed before the contract was signed. This is what Zondo is quoted as saying to Kickoff. I joined the club around the same time as Nurkovic, but I am not the one who brought him in. I only saw him for the first time when the club introduced us to the media. His signing was positive in that he is an experienced player and a proven goal scorer. However, we discovered too late that he had injuries which could have been addressed with more thorough checks before signing him. This oversight is what ultimately caused the problems. So according to what the coach had to say about Nurkovic, well, he was signed without proper medicals being done. And it seems like when he arrived at the club, it was only spotted after he had put pen to paper that the player had some injuries. And of course, as we know, a player who is not fully fit cannot play for the team. So as you can imagine, after Royal AM spending a hefty amount of money in signing the player as well as his salary, only to find out that the player came through injured, you would imagine that Royal AM felt a little bit hard done at this point. Although the coach does clearly say that it could have all been avoided had the club done the proper and thorough checks, medical checks, before signing him, as any responsible club would do. But of course, the chairman of Royal AM does seem to be a busy individual, and who knows, maybe at the time he was a little bit tied up, busy, probably at the birth of his 4th child. But getting back to the Nurkovic issue, well, according to the reports, the player was only ever paid once by Royal AM, a sum of around 245,943 rands and 91 cents on November the 11th of 2022. And he must be paid approximately 11.1 million rands to settle the case, which has been to FIFA as well as the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Now, it has been revealed that Nurkovic's package at Royal AM was 5,040,000 rands for his first season, which would have been from July the 1st, 2022 to June the 30th, 2023, and then 5,280,000 rands for his second year, which would have been from July the 1st, 2023 to June the 30th, 2024, and 5,520 rands for an optional third year if they decide to go with that third year between the two parties. And then there were sponsorship controversies. In August of 2023, the heavily indebted Msunduzi local municipality stated that it was going ahead with a 27 million rand sponsorship for Royal AM. This was going to be a 3-year deal. Now, this particular sponsorship actually prompted a carte blanche investigation and video, and in that video, a lot of discrepancies were disclosed. And at this point, it seems like a microscope was now solely focused on the owners of Royal AM, especially Mamkhize. And in January of 2025, the South African Revenue Services issued a preservation order against the club over unpaid tax debts by the owner, Shauwn Mkhize, to the tune of around 40 million rands.
This afternoon, we now know that police have confirmed that SARS officials are currently raiding the home of the controversial business person Shauwn Mkhize in Umhlanga.
Now, the club's banking accounts were frozen, Mamkhize's home was raided, and reports came out that the players had not received their December 2024 salaries. And I suppose the last nail in the coffin of Royal AM was that their upcoming fixtures were postponed by the league's governing body, the PSL. In March 2025, SARS put the club up for auction. Durban businessman Roy Mudley, who is one of the directors of global investments, was announced reported that his bid had been the one that was successful. And as of last week, there were reports that the team had started training and it was all smiles. It seems like everything was turning around for the Durban-based club. However, this particular excitement was short-lived, as it was reported that the terms of the agreement for the bid were not fulfilled and that the deal itself had collapsed because, well, the payment did not come through. Now, speaking to the media, Roy Mudley said that there were no payment issues regarding the purchase. He said negotiations are ongoing and a statement would be released soon. He is quoted as saying the following to IOL: "We did not fail to pay. The statement is unacceptable. Payment was not a problem. The undertaking from the sellers was not forthcoming, especially that Royal AM would not be able to complete the 19 games in the specific time period. There are a lot of wrongful opinions floating around, which is totally unacceptable and untrue." So going off that statement itself, what he is saying, what I see is the biggest problem or the biggest hurdle is that it seems that Royal AM would not be able to play the games that have been suspended. Therefore, I think it would mean Royal AM would be relegated. And if we are all being honest here, who would pay millions for a team that is just about to get relegated to the national division? Heck, at that point, I might as well just wait and buy the status of a club that I know for sure guaranteed will be in the PSL next season. Now, in the midst of all of this, Mamkhize has been somewhat silent. The last time she actually spoke about what is going on at the club was when she posted a statement about the club having their games postponed early January, in which she captioned the statement praying for a positive outcome. Well, on Monday, the 31st of March, Mamkhize broke her silence. She took to her Instagram and said that her side of the story does not matter anymore. So she posted the following story with the caption, "My side of the story doesn't matter anymore. Life happened, it hurt, I healed. But most importantly, I learned who deserves a seat at my table and who will never sit again." Now, that is a very vague message that she wrote over there. Could she be talking about SARS? Perhaps Mamkhize is talking about Somizi. We don't know. Well, for now, it does seem that Mamkhize is taking herself a well-deserved holiday in Dubai with Bheki Cele. And just like that, we have reached the end of the video. Now, if you did enjoy the video, please do me a huge favor. Share it with your family, your friends, and your enemies. Confuse the hell out of everybody. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to RedLive if you haven't, and binge watch my previous videos.